Welcome back to Viewer Discretion. We're once again gathered here in the turret. Are you gonna pull up your hoodie?
There we go.
Our respective turrets. I'm not wearing a hoodie, unfortunately. To recap the Traitors as well as Fallout. David Dennis Jr. and I will be talking about Fallout in the second half of this podcast. Episode 7 of Fallout, which was very good. And really setting up the finale. It's very exciting. So Fallout fans, check the timestamp. But first we shall start. Charlie Kravitz joins us to talk about the Traitors. Another banger episode. I'll start here. Loved it. This show, this season got off to a slightly slow, which, you know, I'm told is common with the Traitors. The first few episodes are kind of like, there's not a lot of strategy, whatever. But these last two, I am seated. I want to start, before we, of course, recap everything that happened, with a question, I think, coming off of, spoiler, if you don't, I don't know why you're watching this if you haven't watched it. Rob turns on Lisa Rinna completely. In the last episode, he kind of sort of turned on her and pretended like he didn't. This episode, he drove the knife.
Leading the charge.
Iced it. Rob, we have discussed, is not only like winning the public, I think, right now, but he is also playing in a damn good game. So I want to pose this question. Do we think him turning on Lisa now, with several, I don't forget how many people left, but there's a decent amount of people left, too early or perfect timing? Charlie, you go first, and David, I want to hear your thoughts.
One episode too early.
Oh, okay. Why?
I think had Natalie been exposed as a faithful, Lisa was coming no matter what, and he could have avoided potential conflict with Candiace, letting his alliance, his people of Steven, Colton, etc., even though Natalie was one of them, they would have been
Hunts, Eric, and Natalie, I believe. Well, they were in the dagger.
And they would have been rabid for Lisa had Natalie been, evicted and proved to be faithful. David, your thoughts?
Yeah, half a beat. I think
close.
You can, close. I think it is an okay move. I mean, I think he was a little aggressive, but I think that it worked out for him because it was right in the end. My thing is when you get to the point where Candiace is an enemy, I think we're underestimating her as an enemy. I think, right? I think like that.
That's my concern here.
Yeah, that's my concern. I think we're just looking at it like Rob's playing this semi-perfect game. He has all this stuff figured out. And Candiace, though, is a wild card. It's like she presents this wild card potential. And I think like that small thing is what could cause trouble for him.
Yeah, she is an agent of chaos.
Yes.
And like, because she also, like, her decision to randomly pick Rob at the table was kind of like half genius, half insane, which I think is kind of what we're going to be dealing with. Like, totally genius of her and savvy to not pick Lisa there, recognizing where the tide was, the wind was blowing. But then picking Rob was just like out of left field. I think he might have played it a little early because Natalie, if I was him, I would have wanted Natalie to leave because she's a strong competitor, even if she is in his alliance.
Yeah.
And I also think you're right. He would have bought an extra week because they would have gone after Lisa. But him turning on Lisa was brilliant.
Totally the right move.
Yeah.
He could not be aligned with Lisa for another day outside the turret.
So let's take it back to the banquet, which is where this episode starts. The Super Bowl of murders. Timely. That's going to be the real Super Bowl when my Seahawks face the Patriots.
There we go.
Lisa is wearing like an insane sailor outfit. I don't know how to describe it. So they enter the scene. And I think everyone there, well, actually, we can talk about this. I was going to say everybody knows there's going to be a public execution, but maybe not, because it's obvious some of them were paying more attention to the things happening than others. There's tarot cards with their faces. It's all like red herrings everywhere.
Yeah.
Lisa, she talks about herself in the third person a lot. Sorry. I'm looking at my notes. It's like, I'm Lisa Rinna. I know how to work a family. Lisa Rinna. Okay, whatever. She says Colton's too obvious. So she narrows down her kills because she's got the brooch, the amulet that people need to touch, to Jam, Kristen, and Natalie.
Yeah.
We see her talking to them. She's like, oh, can somebody fix it? Which is a good way to actually get someone to touch it. So credit to Lisa. Okay. They sit down at the table. Alan tells him, the traitors killed one of you. But for the first time ever, we've got these 2 antidotes where you can save yourself. David, if you were at the table, we talk about what happened. What would if you were faithful? How hard would you have gone for one of the antidotes? Because Natalie's, I would say her undoing, but ultimately what led to people turning on her was when she went so hard. She was so desperate for it.
She went a little hard for it. I think Kristen kind of played it really well. Was like, I'm pretty sure, but if you want it that bad, take it. Like, I think that was
really quickly.
Right. She did, like, when they handed it to her, she was like, I took it. But she was kind of like, look, I feel confident, but at the same time, I don't, hey, that's what it is. I think that's kind of the way to do it, I think.
My take on Natalie was, one, she was really annoying in that moment. And two, I did not think that she came off as a traitor whatsoever. What I did think is that she came off as someone who would be completely not trustworthy to have in your alliance at the end. Yeah. Where if you got to that final 3 and they're throwing stuff in the fire and it's like, can you eliminate someone to get more money? She is going to stab anyone in the back to win.
It reminded me of I just want to make it. It reminded me of Boar on the Floor from Succession. That's really what
the scene. I mean, that was I at the table, the round table, which we'll get to. This was brought up, and it's exactly what a traitor do. I was like, okay, if that's the case, then Natalie should be in soap operas, not Lisa Rinna.
Yeah.
I don't know how they watched that woman lose her and thought that was acting. She was clearly freaking out because she thought she was killed.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I think a traitor going so hard for it is something a traitor would do, but not in the way that she did it. She was panicked. Like, I think a traitor would be like, I need it, but like not in the same way that she was. She seemed like she just lost her mind.
Sort of like the way that Rob was going after the dagger.
Yeah, no, I just like couldn't believe. I was really annoyed that they were all like, well, it's what, like, I'm like, did you guys not watch this? So as soon as this is revealed, it's a great scene. The scene where they all try to save themselves and figure out what happened is amazing. So smart to put a clock on it because it just made them all lose their first they talk about Steven touched Kristen's card.
Yeah.
And which is
poor Steven, by the way. Just touching things left and right.
He actually served people food, which, by the way, is another lesson in the Traitors, right? If you are in a lavish public setting where it feels like something's going to happen, just don't do
anything. Don't touch anything. Don't do anything.
I felt so seen when I think it was Tara who was like, "Has this food been sitting out all day? Are we really supposed to eat this?" I know. No, it was a classic reality TV where I think she was like, are we eating the prop food? Are we really supposed to eat this? Like, you see this on every season of The Bachelor, they're full plates that no one touches.
Kristen deserves a lot of credit for not commenting on the food.
Yes.
Well, you just look over and Rob's just popping in hard-boiled eggs in his mouth.
We need to take a break to talk about eggs. As somebody who hates hard-boiled eggs, there was so much egg eating this episode that drove me absolutely crazy. Rob just housing a whole egg, activated my gag reflex.
He did it twice.
He did it twice. It was absolutely disgusting.
Eggs and smoked salmon are the story of this season. So they kind of all talk about the food, then they decide that's probably not it, even though Natalie freaks out about it. Mm-hmm. They talk about the cards. Ultimately, the people who think they really deserve it or are terrified are Kristen, Tara, and Natalie. Mm-hmm. And Tara and Natalie get into it.
Yeah.
Which was just, again, so aggressive on Natalie's part. And I just cannot understand people who think her behavior was not authentic panic in that moment, but she alphaed. Quick note on Natalie. So I have a friend who watches Survivor hardcore and gave me her lore the other day at the park where we were watching our kids. And apparently Natalie was this incredible competitor, and then they brought her back, and then she got voted out in her second time because when she came back, she became unbelievably yoked. In her off season, she just became a CrossFit master or something. And so everybody was so physically intimidated by her. They didn't want her around. I was thinking about that, watching her Hulk out on TV. Anyways, she's very athletic, which is the thing in the mission, the Dagger Challenge. Okay. So ultimately Kristen and Natalie take the antidotes. It's a great way to do the public execution.
Yeah.
It's just again, the production of the show, the game, it's masterful. This is the great television moment. I want to hear your guys' thoughts on this. Alan reveals the kill was Yam Yam.
Who had originally said, as soon as they said the thing, he said, "Lisa kissed me," but did not sort of vocalize it
So he mentioned it in the. I didn't notice
he
that.
Whispered, He whispered it to. I think was it Steven or somebody on the other side? He whispered it and was like, "Lisa, kiss me," and he said it as soon as they said it was a public kill, but he did not like vocal. He kind of didn't really hammer it down until he was carried off, and they were like, "You didn't say it much."
The way he screamed it as he was being dragged off,
the funniest in the world.
It was literally like watching someone in a courtroom being like called guilty and screaming as they're in prison. It was so dramatic and amazing on his part. And like Charlie first, David, like when he said that, I'm like, how can they move off Lisa now? Yeah. Like
that's
which is hilarious because that ultimately wasn't even the act of execution.
Yeah. I mean, there was so much heat on Lisa. No matter, and by the way, just to circle back to why Candiace is actually way more powerful in this game than we realize, is she was immediately able to move people off of Lisa the second she started politicking away from it, which shows that even though she doesn't have an alliance, she has a crew of people that she can influence. Yeah. But no, it should have been done. Like, unless they were being like, we know Lisa's a traitor, we can carry her a little longer and see if we can get more info about who's aligned with her. That's the only reason if there are off-camera conversations about that.
Because also Lisa told the wrong lie. She told the wrong lie. The lie was I didn't kiss him on the cheek instead of just being like I was going for an air kiss and maybe I brushed his cheek. You know what I'm saying? Like I was going like you try to air kiss all the time and you touch somebody's cheek all like this to say that I did not touch the cheek when he said it directly. I think was another Lisa tactical error.
She just admitted it. Be like, sorry, I did that. I kissed people all the time. It was not a thing. Like it was the lying.
Yeah, I didn't kiss you, Maura, because I didn't want to mess up your makeup.
Right, didn't want to mess up your makeup. We went in because I mean you've done the air kiss all the time. Sometimes a cheek brushes. Sometimes like it just happens. I was
trying to air kiss him. I air kissed everybody.
Yeah, he's got a big scruffy beard that rubbed against my face.
She's just not a good liar and a strategic person. And our last episode, Charlie, you asked us whether we're rooting for the faithfuls or the traitors, and we were all like, we're rooting for NBA style, like I'm picking my squad. I was really rooting against her at this point, and I wanted her gone because I was tired of her watching her play it so poorly. Sorry if there's Lisa Rinna fans in my mentions. She's not a good traitor.
I was off of her from the beginning when she was like, I know how to work a room, and they super cut to her being like, you look fabulous. You look fabulous. Like, this is not how you
so extra, so effortful. Okay, so the next morning at breakfast, Eric's kind of trying to like get in the game a little bit. He says, we talk about Natalie. They bring up Steven being involved in a lot of actions. The air kissing comes up. Candiace defends her air kissing, which I'd be curious to see if anybody noticed that Candiace defended Lisa throughout this episode, but we'll see. Colton brings it up, and Lisa says, you're a dog with a bone. And Colton, who's a little bit chastened in this episode, but we'll talk about what he says at the end, says, I mean, it wasn't me. Yam Yam's the one who we know is a faithful who accused you. Natalie apologizes the next morning for being a lunatic. So Alan arrives and says, Yam Yam is toast. It's
amazing.
And then before the mission, we get some kind of resettling of the alliances. So for those keeping track, like where do things stand right now? Like what are the major alliances in the house?
It seems like it's Johnny, Tara, Candiace, Kristen.
Yeah.
Are like, that's a big four. And then it seems like the hunks plus Eric and Natalie is a five. I guess Lisa was in the other.
And Maura.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, Maura.
The hunks. So they have the bigger voting block right now.
But I think both groups think they have Maura because the Johnny's group thought that Maura was going to vote for Natalie.
Oh, Mark is with Johnny. Yeah. Mark, the dancer Mark.
Oh, yeah.
Because he pulls her and they talk about Natalie.
Mm-hmm.
Johnny's an interesting one, David, because you see Colton talking to him at the end. Like he's kind of one to keep an eye on, is like he hasn't figured anything out at all, to be clear, but he seems to be like really actually trying to play the game. You remember he was the one who talked about putting together a voting block of like a certain amount of people and controlling it last episode.
Yeah, I think his biggest benefit is that he keeps it close to the vest more than anybody else. And I think he came into the game thinking that because he was like, I'm not going to exploit the Olympic alliance just yet, even though everybody kind of knows it's there. And so his thing the whole time has been, let's keep it quiet. Let's keep it close to the vest. He's not really playing his hand too much. And unless he feels confident that he has a voting block. Otherwise, he kind of just keeps it
right.
quiet.
Colton felt comfortable talking to him. Yeah. You're right. I think that's why he's one to keep an eye on. I think he's a good player. We see Lisa, Natalie, and Tara talking, and Natalie says, "We murdered one. I mean, banished or something." She has a verbal slip, and Lisa's like, "I'm going to use this," which Natalie doesn't bring this up at the round table, but I would have immediately said, we literally have gotten the verbal slips wrong every time.
Every single time.
Dude,
why would you even consider this at this point?
I couldn't believe that was a serious thing. It's like, yeah, we've done this 3 times. You did this with Portia. This derailed our game for the first half of the season. How can you not pick up on it?
I think she was also talking about someone who was banished. So I would just
right.
Why would I say I murdered someone we all banished? Like, it's just anyways, whatever. It's like Steven. So Steven, Mark, Rob. So Mark is another one where he's kind of like friends with everybody, gets along with everyone. A lot of people are starting to kind of like talk about Natalie, though.
Yeah.
Again, I agree with Charlie's sentiment that like if I was talking about her, it would be like I don't want this person around more so than I think she's a traitor. But they are all kind of waffling about it. And there's an interesting moment before the mission where Rob is with Steven, Rob, and Maura, so like his crew, Steven, Mark, and Maura party. And he says, look, anytime 2 people have a different version of a story, someone's lying, referring back to the Lisa Jam Jam.
Yeah. And
it was in this moment, before anything, even before the mission, guys, that I was like, oh, Rob's going to get this done tonight.
Yeah. It
wasn't like Rob's going to go along with it, David.
Yeah. I mean, because Rob had already done the calculus. He did the calculus that morning, or really that night before, and he said it the next morning, that as soon as Jam Jam said Lisa's name, that's it. You cannot come back from that. And I just want to note the editing of the show of like they stretch out what he said. Like when you watch Love Island and they're like, I'm choosing, and then they cut to all these people and it's like 30 seconds later. They had Rob's monologue cut in a way where it like delayed, but it didn't feel like that. It just like was riveting television waiting for him to get out because you don't know what he's going to say exactly. And when he starts campaigning for Lisa, it's like, oh, we have an episode going on right now.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Rob is just like crushing. He wins the mission, which my token phone time meant that I was confused at the end when Rob got to choose who had the dagger. But the general gist of it is whoever wins, and it's like a complicated thing involving stones and how to get the stones and amassing them. I honestly
and Rob like just tosses rocks in the back of his farm, and he could just like hit rocks, like win all these things. He's just, I don't know.
I mean, the fact you're on the phone, this is one of the great game playing feats. Like Rob realized how important this dagger was. Realized the strategy was not actually to get to the top first. He was the only one who could hit these vases or these clay pots. Ended up with way too much stuff. Got Colton, who's 6'5", 250, carried up the hill for him, and then was able to read who was lying to him off of 3 questions first.
And I will say it was very obvious that Natalie was lying when he went around and asked the people and like looked at their faces. I was like,
when they were doing this, I was like, this is Rob's make or break moment. Like he was like, to me, he was like so confident about it, and he asked these 3 kind of dumb questions. I was like, this is a moment where all of the like, I'm so super smart is going to come back to bite him. And he nailed it. Like, I do not understand how he was able to.
Killing it.
He's just, like he is just one of those dudes who like, seems like he schleps around, and then you go to a bar and you're like, let's throw darts. And he just like bullseyes everyone. Just like, I went to dart camp in 7th grade. And it's just like,
it sounded like the story of Bo Jackson when he's like, I accidentally killed a pig by throwing a rock at it. So he's throwing rocks.
Rob is, it is actually amazing how much he is completely running this season. Like it is, the dude has yet to really, we talked at the beginning of the show, maybe it was too early, but he really has yet to lose or slip up, and everybody seems to like him.
Yes.
He's winning everything. I don't think anyone has accused him outside of Candiace being weird. And he wins this. So, at the end, it comes down to Colton, Eric, Mark, Natalie, Rob, Steven, and Rob gets the right to choose who's lying to him. It's complicated. unnecessarily complicated. And he gets Natalie. Before we move on, I do want to ask, like, how valuable you guys think the dagger is. So the dagger, the way it works is you get 2 votes. And at first I was like, this round table, but then I think Alan said the next 4 were, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
So he can hold on to it.
Yeah.
Rob smartly doesn't use it in this one. Obviously, he's like, I'm going to keep this to protect myself. How valuable do you think this is?
Yeah, I think the value was just like, Rob clocked the value from the beginning. He was like, nobody can vote twice against me. Like, that's the value of it, is that he stops somebody else from having that voted block.
To me, it's that also, like, and if he can run the next 2 votes, so 7 was going to win it this time. So I guess there were 13 people left in total. If you get it down to like 11 and he has his group of 5 people with him, he can just control it to the end. So he can, and maybe we'll get to it, but so if he knows Candiace is against him and he wants to get Candiace out, he can essentially execute that whenever he wants with his alliance, if he can make it through 2 more roundtables.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing about being a traitor, because you know you're not going to be murdered. It just becomes about the numbers and strategy, which is why it's so much better to be a traitor than a faithful. Like, when you say want to be faithful, I'm like, are you crazy? I would so much strategically. It's a lot easier to be a traitor because you're never going to be a victim of randomness.
Yeah,
you're going to be killed and snuffed out, but you at least can influence that. He does another smart thing, which is on the way back, he gets them all to reveal, not to agree, not to reveal. I don't know how the heck he got everybody. I guess he got lucky in a way that, like, his alliance dominated the people who won. But it's not lucky because it's the hunks who are the athletes.
Right. Yeah.
It's like,
it felt like this mission, there was a real sort of anti, like, housewife or elderly. Like, there was a reason that they got, like, when I was watching, like, one of my friends was like, how would Travis Kelce's mom have done this? Like,
that happened in there was a really physical mission, and there was an old guy who's in Parliament. And he was just like, I'm just not doing it.
Then I know I'm like watching the show and thinking about, okay, like I'm studying it. I'm grinding the tape, putting together, game plan. It did occur to me watching this that your alliance, it is good to have athletic people on your side.
Yeah.
Even if, it doesn't matter if they're good game players or not, because you can win the missions. So we get to the round table. All right. This is where it all goes down. Lisa goes first, because of course she does. She brings up Natalie's accidental murdered instead of banished slip. Natalie, for some reason, as we discussed, I would have brought up the other verbal slips and how they screwed up. But she makes a good argument, which is, Lisa, you're not doing this because you think I'm a murderer. You're doing it to take the heat off you, which is, I think, smart. Johnny brings up her fighting for the antidote, and she says, I went into fight or flight mode. Okay. The heat comes off Natalie pretty quick. Yeah. Colton says, I'd like to talk about Yam Yam. And this, again, it's such an obvious argument against Lisa. Yeah. It's like crazy to me that there was any dissent. And I'll be interested, David, in seeing if anyone notices how much Candiace defended her, not just over the course of the episode, but even at the round table. Because when they talk about Yam Yam, Candiace is like, well, he fake cried.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Colton.
Yeah, it came up. It came up afterwards. Somebody mentioned it briefly. Colton did. Yeah. Just
who cares? He's out of the game. What do you actually have anything to gain from? This was the thing. Like, David, like, Lisa never had an argument against. The argument could never have. Like, this is why she's not a good game player. She went after Yam Yam.
Yeah.
That's not how you get out of this.
Yeah.
You can't say he had a motive. You can only argue that he was mistaken, David.
That's it. That's the only way. Like, you could just do the whole. I mean, you and Natalie can also almost make the same argument of people have been mistaken about small things all the time. Slip ups, things like that all the time. If, like, how can you vote me out because I brushed this dude's cheek? And like, that's such a silly, there's no evidence beyond me brushing some dude's cheek, and in a panic he flips out on the way out. Like, that's it. That's the easy argument. Instead of saying I never kissed the dude, when people saw you do it, and then you're arguing that Natalie had a slip up that we've seen everybody get wrong the whole time.
I don't know if this would work with anyone except for Rob at the table, because I think he might be the only person who actually understands it. But if I was Lisa, I'd be like, it's anchor theory. You've anchored me to this thing from before, and now you're trying to apply everything to make sure that you're right. And this jam thing he was thinking that in that exact moment, and there's nothing I could do to disprove it. But we have now evidence of Natalie acting just as weird. You should be anchored to that just as much as you're anchored to me. And Rob would have been like, "Thank you for using a proper psychological term."
Lisa was. If they let her finish, she was right about to say anchor theory right before
I honestly think part of the reason Rob turned there was he was just like, this person is not good enough at this game to make it to the end. I don't know. Well, there's going to be a lot between him and Candiace. Candiace is clearly better at this than Lisa, and at least I mentioned this, but like the fact that she knew not to freaking vote for Lisa was evidence. But she's also very chaotic, and she did defend. I'll be interested in seeing if anyone noticed how hard she defended Lisa throughout this episode, because I would have noticed that, and it would have put me off.
That's what Cole notices in the last scene, and Johnny says that he can't trust Rob either after the vote, but it's coming for both of them. Do you want to get to? Should we get to the entire voting of how they split? Because that
So I make sure to take note of all the votes in this one. Rob. Well, no. So we should get to the monologue first.
Yeah.
So it's everyone's talking, and you can see Rob see that like things aren't completely sold. Mm-hmm. So he decides to step in and be the only freaking logical person in the room, and he says, "What would Natalie's motive be to make a spectacle of herself?" Exactly what I'm screaming the entire freaking time. He says, as faithfuls, we only have guesses, but we know with Jam was a faithful. Mm-hmm. Like we are guessing each other. Here is a person we know is faithful. The last thing he said, Lisa was a traitor. Why would he lie? And as soon as Rob said this, completely logically, articulating everything in my brain, I was like, this is over. Did either of you think, we can talk about how the vote came out, but did either of you think after Rob gave that speech that Lisa had any chance of surviving?
Cooked. One of the great monologues in TV history. It was like Rob voting Lisa out, and then like Will Smith wondering why his dad left him in Fresh Prince. Like that's just like those two are the great monologues in television history. Like just pitch perfect. You could tell he rehearsed the spectacle line. Like you could tell that was something that he had practiced and done, and it shifted the entirety of the game.
I agree. It's right. Walter White, I am the danger. Stringer Bell, 40-degree day. Rob Rouch, the spectacle.
I was thinking about the Will Smith and who's the most likely person on the show to say, "You don't want me no more." I'm trying to run it back in my mind. It's been a long time.
It just happened.
So the second Rob delivers this oratory masterpiece, he really is the William Jennings Bryan of reality television.
Which there's one thing to heat him up, it should be this. It's again, like these are the breadcrumbs to Rob. Like,
how is no one noticing that he's way too smart?
I think so. This is what I'm starting to believe. Rob, I think it's the Alabama. I think it's like if Rob were from Missouri. Nobody would think it's the Alabama is the Kaiser Soze of Rob's thing right now. It's the I'm from Alabama. If he were from anywhere else, as a person from Mississippi, if he was from anywhere else, people would be onto him. It's the Alabama.
This supports my long-standing political theory, which is we need somebody with a thick accent to run. We need a Trojan horse. Some good policies. It's over. Rob ices it. So we start off, Mark goes Lisa. Mark was a wavering, Tara, who's I just don't think she's really sharp.
No.
Natalie. Steven, Lisa, Maura, Lisa votes for Natalie, Colton, Lisa, the icon, the legend, Eric, Lisa, Candiace. Okay, I do want to get your thoughts on this moment because Charlie, I texted David and I was like, is Candiace brilliant? Or like, I legit don't know. She says, Natalie, you changed my mind. I'm going Rob. She just says it's a throwaway vote. Mm-hmm. What did you make of this moment from Candiace?
It was the first start of a Cold War against Rob. And it's like the Cold War, mutually assured destruction, because if she ousts Rob, how she knows completely exposes herself. And this happened like a bit of this of Traitors history. There were two survivor people. And the Traitors turned on each other very early in Dan and Parvati. And out of nowhere, when he was on Dan, he was actually the one getting eliminated at the round table. he just put Parvati down, thinking that she was the one who betrayed her, and that was the only vote for it. It led to her eventual elimination. So if I had been of like a meta person, I know Colton watches this show because of the way he's behaved on this. He's watched the previous seasons to grind tape. I would have clocked that maybe both Rob and Candiace are traitors,
especially if Candiace is
out of the blue.
Yeah. Very, very. Because if she you can make the argument for a throwaway vote. Because afterwards, when she's walking down the hall, everybody's like, "Rob, ha ha ha, that's funny," and she's like, "Yeah, I know," but you could throw away a vote to anybody else.
Yeah, I don't.
Anybody else.
And we haven't burned votes this season. Like that was something that happened in early seasons where people are like, I'm burning my vote. I have no clue. And they haven't done that at all this year. They voted in blocks to like try and establish relationships.
I mean, she could have voted Tara. Like that's nobody was suspecting her. There was so many other people that she could have voted in that moment. And to do Rob because she wants to like send him a message or whatever she wants to do, that's absolutely going to be her undoing. And she may take Rob down with her.
Could have used that moment or this episode or this point in the show to strengthen her alliance with Rob. That would have been the smart strategic thing to do, but I don't think she's acting strategic. I do think
could she have voted for herself?
Could she have? Yeah.
Just vote for yourself. Like that's,
just not a strategic player, but like also chaotic enough to keep going, right? Like she's not like Lisa where I'm like, you're just not good at this or you're making bad decisions. I think she's just chaos at this point. But
also her whole persona is chaos. So she's not acting strange to anybody.
Well, but that's why yes, David. That's why I think like Charlie, you said at the point, like at the beginning, she got away with like defending Lisa and turning people on Natalie because I think she reads as like a legit, authentic person.
Yeah.
She's been consistent. Right, like she was always consistent about Ron. She's been consistently about being friends with Lisa, and so I think like she could survive longer than it seems because of the consistency and the chaos.
And she benefits from Lisa being a housewife, so it looks just like irrational housewife,
right?
Back in another housewife.
Well, she benefits from Lisa, not like the thing that everyone like pounced upon last episode. Like you're not acting like yourself the way you normally act on television.
Yeah,
where Candiace was like.
She's been herself.
Yeah, she's been like the housewife's character the entire time.
So in the aftermath, we get some aftermath this episode. Colton is unfortunately feeling himself again. Walking around, I proved housewives don't. He's acting like he took down a housewife, and
I took all the Colton hate. I don't think I've hated him more than when he stood in that kitchen and said, "I took down the housewife." When Jam actually was the one who took her down, who kind of figured it out.
Yeah,
but still figured it out. Yeah. Like Rob and Jam led the pack to actually get her out of there. You didn't do anything.
Candiace is so before we get to that, Colton pulls Johnny, who, as we lose, Johnny's he's a hard one to read, and he says, "I'm gonna draw a line between football and skating." He's like, "This would be like you're going up against a guy who you knew the best in the world, and you had to do like a crazy move," and Johnny's like, sure.
It was such a waste of time.
This also, by the way, okay, I don't want to be mean here, but like Johnny Weir was one of the best in the world.
Yes.
Like I know like we were like, Johnny wears funny outfits. Like he was like a legitimately incredible figure skater. So like, let's relax a little bit. Colton suggests to him that he's on to Steven, just random shooting at this point.
All about cutting that meat. It's unbelievable.
Also, Steven is just weird. I think Steven's just a weird dude.
Steven is aware that people are starting to like notice him finally, and he's like kind of entering the game. I mean, he's just nice and people get along with him. I don't think it's a crazy person to single. I guess that would actually bring me to, because I was thinking through this. Okay, I was like, okay, they got rid of like Lisa. I don't think at this point, if I was trying to think if I'm in the faithful in the house, who would I have my eye on next? And like maybe Tara, because she was hard on Natalie, but like I don't think there's anyone at this point left who's made major, other than Candiace defending Lisa, as we talked about. There's no one else making major mistakes in gameplay that would make me think it's them.
I'm gonna do something that is probably on no other Traitors podcast, and I'm going to quote Tanasi Coates when I'm giving Colton advice here, because was silence not an option? Like you could just have not targeted anybody. You don't have to target anybody.
Do you know how hard it was for him to go this entire episode and like be relatively quiet. I feel like maybe they just didn't show it too.
I think he figured that I think he figures he manipulated Rob to do it. I think that's what he thinks he did.
So let's get to the Rob Candiace. Yeah, I think you're right. I think he has no idea how Rob is like just out to bring him.
Oh, he has no clue. And Rob, if I'm Rob, I'm delighted by Colton like taking the celebration lap, victory lap.
And they're besties, right?
Yeah,
So I think it'll be interesting to see how long Rob strings him along.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be interesting to see who Rob wants to target next. But at the moment, that's not the issue. We'll wrap here. The issue is that Rob and Candiace are now fully at odds after the round table. Candiace says, "We've got a snake." This was buffoonery of epic proportions. Great line. I enjoy Candiace.
She's great.
Rob is in a conversation with, I think, Colton and Maura, and Candiace comes up and he's like, maybe it was a turret full of housewives. And like, it's the first time we hear Rob bring up. And Johnny brings up Colton to Candiace. No one thinks it's Candiace, it seems.
Yeah.
And Johnny brings up Rob for the first time. So it's the first time Rob has been brought up. And he mentions that he's like copied Colton's speech or whatever. And then it ends with Rob and Candiace in the turret. And then we see the preview of next. Oh, did I miss something?
You missed one. Colton says, "Did you notice that Candiace was defending Lisa? I'm on to Candiace."
Oh, yes. Sorry, I missed that.
Which is like Colton, buffoonery of epic proportions, but he kind of was on Donna, Lisa, and Candiace.
But but also Candiace, I'm not sure she totally understands, because Rob made her life easier. Like getting rid of Lisa makes her life easier.
For her to turn on Rob. She's trying to make up. So it ends with him in a turret. If she wants to stay in this game, she has to make up with him and be like, let's finish this together.
Yeah, you have to.
And no one's on to her for maybe little Colton.
Well, no, but the thing is, I think you could do, I bet you, if the producers wanted to, they have Colton going up to someone saying every single name. Like, genuinely. Because he's been like, it's time to drop our Colton's onto Candiace. And
I bet you're right. Well, at least, I mean, like, I know everyone hates Colton, but like, he's the only one who seems to at least have some inkling of potential traitors. So it seems like the next episode, the Rob Candiace fallout is going to happen. I'm interested in seeing how Rob plays it, because strategically, I don't know. Like we said, I think we all agree it's in Candiace's best interests to hold on to Rob. I don't know if it's in Rob's best interest to hold on to Candiace, especially now that she's turned on him.
Well, I have one prediction for this, is that either next episode or the episode after, Alan's going to give them the option of recruiting another traitor.
Okay, yeah, because they've already got rid of
that is going to be the make or break, because obviously if Rob gets someone in his alliance, whether it's Maura or, he wouldn't get Colton because Colton's got too much heat on him. Like, Candiace is cooked and she'll have, she's just totally cooked. But how she plays that and she's able to manipulate them to pick like a centrist judge and actually get push someone through, then I think she should be able to like cool the tensions with Rob and like make it to the end.
Because also Rob could also just let her know he has the dagger, and it's in her best interest to, to pick who he wants, because like he could sway all the votes for her.
Yeah, that he can wield it like a cudgel. I didn't think about that.
Yeah,
it's another thing he can use. It's why, by the way, when he said to the group after, we're going to keep this quiet, if I was in that, I'd be like, yeah, I want to stay with the guy who has a dagger. Even if he's a traitor, I don't care. Like, I want to stay on his good side as long as possible. All right. I think nobody did anyone pick Yam Yam last week. I don't believe so.
No, I thought I was so cooked for a second with Natalie.
I was when they were saying Kristen and Natalie at the very beginning, I got so nervous about them, because partly I don't want them to leave, but yeah.
We are going to then recast our votes, and I will go first. Okay, so once again, we are picking the 5 people we think will survive the week. I'm going to go Rob, Maura, Mark, sticking with my guy Mark, Johnny, because I just think he's smart, and Eric. All right, David, you can go next.
All right, I'm flying close to the sun here, but I wanted. So Rob, Maura are locks. I think we're all locked up in that. Kristen again. I think Candiace survives another week. And I think Tara survives also because of the underestimation of her. Like this, unless she just like gets plucked off in the middle of the night. I just think that nobody thinks she's a threat whatsoever, and she's gonna fly through.
It's good logic.
I think Tara too, like she's got a huge voting block behind her for Johnny. Yes. So everyone needs to go against her, and for why. So I did Maura, Rob, Johnny, Mark, Candiace. So I had 4 of the same for as you, Mina, but then just subbed in Candiace.
That's it for this week. So I think at this point, the only person who's taken an L is me, right?
I did. I took what we lost the same person.
Maybe it's just safer to keep track of the kills rather than the save. So right. David has 1 point and I have 1.
Are we? Should we also ask if Rob, like where Rob is in the annals of great show like gamesmanship so far?
Charlie, this is you.
Very close to the top. Like I like Suri won season 1 without like a hint. No one suspected to the end. She flipped on Bachelor Ari's the other traitor in the last second and took the entire pot for herself. Like that to me, like Rob's got. It's like when people said that Mahomes was the GOAT after like his second Super Bowl, and it's like you got to win 5 more before we give you this title. Like. Rob has to take this all the way to the end to be on Suri's level. But even if he got knocked out because Candiace betrayed him, he's still been the second best traitor we've ever seen. Period. Straight up. All
right. Let's put a pin in this and revisit it in a few weeks. Because I definitely, if he goes wire to wire here, I think we can have this conversation again about his all-time rankings. But it's looking pretty tough for anyone to get him. So shout out Rob. All right. We'll be back next week, of course, to continue our Traitors coverage. But at the moment, we're going to flip over to talk about Fallout. All right. We are now going to discuss the penultimate episode of Fallout, episode 7, The Handoff. David, I can't believe we're almost... It actually... Sometimes I feel like when we covered Pluribus, I felt like, the finale, it's too fast. There's not enough. I actually feel like this feels like the right time for the finale of Fallout.
Yeah, I agree. I think the pacing of it, I was skeptical at first. It took a couple episodes to get there, but the pacing has kind of been, it feels old school in its pacing a little bit. It just feels like we're getting to this spot very naturally in a way that I think a lot of times when it's like 8 episodes, it's like it either feels like it's rushed or it feels like it's not enough time where they're building for this future thing and you kind of feel discombobulated a little bit. I feel like this is a really well-paced show, which is hard to do these days.
Yeah, lots of different plot lines that have been kind of intersecting, minus the vaults, which are kind of on their own. And I actually want to start there because, throughout the season, you and I have been talking about the vaults feeling kind of like a separate show and what are the stakes. And I've enjoyed the characters. But, with our main characters removed from the equation, Lucy, the Ghoul, and Max, I haven't been as engaged. I loved the way they started this episode to set up, because all this whole time I've been feeling like, why should I care about Stephanie?
Right. Yes.
New overseer, former Bud's Bud of Vault. 32, 33 is the old one. And when they show her in the beginning, in one of the flashbacks from pre-Fallout, she's with what seems to be a partner.
Her mom. I think.
Oh, that was her mom.
Yeah, because I rewatched that because I was confused because she says I didn't raise you Catholic, so it's her mom.
Okay,
but they do look like they could. Yeah, they could be the same.
They look
age.
alike, so
yeah,
that makes sense too. Yeah. Mom looks great then.
Yeah, I said that. I said the same.
That's why I was
way to go, mom.
She's a little older. Yeah. Okay. They're escaping. It actually. Did you watch The Handmaid's Tale? It felt a lot like The Handmaid's Tale.
I watched the first season of The Handmaid's Tale.
That's why it's similar to that.
Okay,
yeah.
All right.
I think I bailed 2 seasons left maybe on that. It was a lot. But it's very so we know she's Canadian because Chet had that discovery.
Right.
This flashback is her on the run, being pursued by an unknown, assailant or attacker enemy. And the mom basically tells mom they get attacked. The mom dies. The mom says, I want to make sure I got this right. Because they escaped from an internment camp, pardon me, in Canada.
Right, which was fascinating to me because I wonder if the creators they make this show and they're like, oh man, 100 years from now, America and Canada, and then they're just watching it like, what the guys, like what's going on, like what's happening?
Yeah, I wonder. I don't know what in the shows or in the game rather, Canada, where I think we're so used to thinking of Canada as being like the good guys.
Yeah.
I know it's hard to know. We know that they're, however, obviously enemies of America because the mom's last words to her are, "Don't think of them as human. Do whatever it takes to stay alive." Basically, don't think of them as human beings. Think of them as Americans. And we see her killing people to get to America somehow.
I, for one, as a patriot, was offended by that sentence. So
I was always told, if you're overseas growing up, you should pretend to be Canadian because everybody likes you. I don't know. Anyway, then this leads to a funny payoff at the very end. But she kills a dude. We also see her in Cooper's timeline in the again pre-Fallout. He's in the hotel, the Lucky 38, and we see her as like a maid, which means she made it. She's safe, obviously. Eye still intact, of course. And she asks, like, how could a girl with a minimum wage get a job at Vault Tech? Because the question, David, I was wondering up till that point was like, how did she get in the vault? How did she become a Bud's Bud? There's all these like missing, because this is a show with multiple timelines. There's so many missing pieces. Yeah, that was one of them. But they answered it pretty fast. This is a very enterprising, very tough woman. Yeah,
they did so much to make her compelling in 10 minutes than they'd done the whole series. I mean, I was all in suddenly. Like Same. Her story, everything, I was kind of like, whatever, it'll be fine. But like, she became this really compelling character, and like the economic use of plot to make her compelling. I actually found myself all season being like, come on. But then I was like, can we get a little bit? Can we stay with her a little bit more? Yeah.
Well, it adds because I think like up till this point, all the vault stuff has been okay. 33 has water insecurity under Betty. Stephanie's up to something. We don't know what. Woody, Zach Cherry's character, was asking questions. Last we saw him, Chet finds his glasses in the sink after he came. Remember, he accused Stephanie of improper behavior, I guess, which inexplicably accused her to her face. Chet like sees the glasses and he freaks out and he asks her, "Where's Woody?" And she says he's been sent on the leadership exchange program to 31. We see her meeting with Betty. They had made this trade where she would divert some of the water in exchange for a box of Hank's possessions. We don't know what's in the box. But yeah, this whole season, the vaults, the question has been a little bit of why we should care, but also like, what is this woman up to? And getting her back, we still don't know what she's up to, right? But getting her backstory adds such a different layer to that question and makes it interesting to me. Like, I want to know. It ends with their wedding. Chet says, "I don't know. I don't." He tells everybody, he reveals, his suspicions. He also reveals she's 200 years old. Okay. And she's Canadian. Whoa, no, not a Canadian. Right. Very funny. But she runs off. We don't know. She's got the box. We don't know what's in the box. We don't know what she's up to. Do you have any suspicions? Like, what are your thoughts?
I have no clue, because we do in the Cooper timeline see the last thing is her attached to Hank. Like, is that she's like, "Hey, get with this dude." So
That's right.
There's something there that they have a story now that I'm assuming is going to be told in the next season that's going to get us here. But I have absolutely no theory for this whatsoever.
Yeah, the interesting thing here is, though she worked for Vault Tech and she was a Bud's Bud. There's no reason to think has any like corporate allegiance or any belief system other than being a survivor and having survived extreme violence and hating Americans. Right. And that could also be part of this, right? Like, that might have something to do with her goal. But she also knows that whatever Hank's master plan is, she was in on it. And and you make a good point about how she was the last person we see her. He's the last person we see her with in the previous timeline. So Stephanie's on the lam, wearing her wedding dress with the box. I'm intrigued. Yeah. It was a good episode for this plot line, which I've been kind of shoving at the end of every recap for like, and back in the vaults. But this was interesting to me.
Can't believe they did. Like, can't believe they got me into this thing. Like, into this. No, it's good stuff. Good stuff. It's good. Well good done. TV.
I like it. Poor Chet at the wedding. He was really funny. I think that did a really good job. Okay. The wedding that he didn't know was happening until the day before.
Right.
which also is another part of the mystery. Like, why did she want to get so insistent on doing it? What was her? Yeah. Okay, let's go to Hank and Lucy's plot line, which it's still self-contained. Last we saw them was the pluribus scenario, right, where Hank had turned the factory into a bunch of worker bees, smiling worker bees. She is complicit in it to stop some violence from a Legion guy against an NCR. And we pick up right there, right, where she is like, they're in the factory, they're smiling. Hank lets her drive. She's still like, you need to take me to the mainframe. He lets her drive a golf cart, which is a very cute, like mother, father, son, daughter scene. Well, it's supposed to like, be like a twisted perversion.
Twisted, like it was, and the way that they make it sort of endearing to us, like kind of lures. It's a pluribus move, very pluribus,
seductive, right?
Right. And so it's like, oh, this may not be so bad if
let me ask you this: do you think she was at all swayed, or because she says we get shown conversations with him where she's like, yeah, the Legion is still out there, and he's like, we could stop them, like she, including there's some of them are in the factory, but he is making a case to her for his technology, for the idea that man is too dangerous to be left to his own devices. Did you at any point before it becomes very clear where she stands, think she was kind of falling under his spell or agreeing with him?
I didn't really, but I don't know if it's confirmation bias, because they did something that actually I did not think I would do this season, which I was rooting for her to make the right, like I was more rooting for, like, please don't be falling for this, was kind of where I was at more so than like the belief of it. And so it feels like they actually earned like a triumphant moment when we get to the, what she does. Yeah,
I agree. I think because the truth is, it's not a good case that he's making, but in specific examples, like a Legion guy about to kill an NCR guy, you can see the argument for it.
Right.
They have like an interesting like geopolitical discussion almost, where they talk about the NCR versus the Legion.
Yeah.
And Hank's, this is really like, it reminded me so much of just like conversations you see on social media about like governments and like political parties.
Yeah.
Where he's like, they all have their problems, high taxes, unpopular foreign policies. And she's like, okay, well, one side is murdering people and enslaving them. The other is vaguely problematic. Didn't that kind of feel like somebody talking about?
Yes, it felt very, very real life of what's going on.
Like,
Cooper actually hits it on the head. Also, it's like, you guys have such, which I know we're getting, like I'm skipping around, but like, you guys have such good policies. You just could be a little bit more charismatic.
Yes, like, about the senator. Yes, yeah. I was dying when he said that. It's. I think the distinction between the Legion and the NCR is really important. Because and this is maybe a good time to hit pause here. The whole show, you and I have been talking about like, who are the good guys?
Yeah.
Who are we rooting for? Who do we trust with the technology? Who's going to do the right thing? This is kind of one of the core animating questions of Fallout. And I did feel like the show is starting to be a little bit clearer. Like the NCR are the good guys.
Yeah.
Probably not perfect. They, have bad taxes or whatever. But like Lucy, I think, does a good job of articulating how ridiculous it is to equate every group here. And I think it is important that when she gets dressed up and goes to dinner with him, and this was a crucial mistake on Hank's part, having the former NCR guy serve them, Gary from the White Lotus, who she remembers, and allowing her to be like, do you remember me? This is why the hive mind argument falls apart.
Yeah.
Because maybe you can point to some violent criminals or whatever, but this was like a decent, normal man.
Yeah.
And you turned him into a drone. And you can't defend that.
Well, yeah, because like his version of that writing of the world, like her stops at stopping evil, right? We're going to stop evil. I'm happy with that. His is, I'm going to stop evil, but I'm also going to be more powerful than these other. Like, I want these people to also serve me. Like, that's where his version of that perfect world is. And they're not aligned there. Like, it stops. He goes much more steps than she does in what he feels like the world is. And so I think that he probably thought, hey, these powerful people, not only are they not fighting each other, but they work for you. And to be a worker bee your whole life, and now people work for you, that is something that he has aspired to. Yeah. But that's not going to work for her.
it's a good illustration too of how like autocratic thinking works, which is you start with the, hey, we want to punish the criminals, right?
Yeah.
And then you're applying that same logic and the mechanisms to everybody.
Right. Yeah.
And I thought that was a good idea to have these two characters, the Legion and the NCR guy, sort of bring that tension and hypocrisy to light in that moment.
Yeah, it's like when you have a force and you are said that you're aiming at one group of people and then other people
take out everybody.
Yeah, it's taking out everybody.
She gets a cool moment though out of this.
Yeah.
Which, you and I have talked about Lucy and how like in the first few episodes we were a little annoyed by like her gee golly whiz do-gooderism. But this felt earned and cool.
Yeah, it did.
Which is to say, she shows up in the dress and plays nice and does so to trick her dad.
Yeah.
She pretends to take off his handcuffs and then handcuffs him to the oven and steals his I forget what they call them, the devices that the little personal computer-y things. And she goes, "You raised me well. I'm not fudging stupid." I loved that though. Yeah. Great. Let's talk about the character for a second. Because we saw her, she is starting to make the sort of difficult, human, complicated decisions that it was like, I think this series was asking at the beginning whether she was capable of shooting the ghoul and using the power thing to knock him and then doing this to her dad.
Yeah.
Like she's had, like, this is legit character growth.
It is, and I think it's a superhero arc, right? It's the superhero arc of like when you have somebody like a Spider-Man or a Superman or a Batman or whatever, and they say, and when you part of the drama and the tension is, it feels like the only way to get rid of the Joker is to murder him. Like you're like, the only way to do this is to murder the Joker, and because of their kind-heartedness or whatever, they have to figure out a way to do it without the murder. And to see her be so annoying so often in her like reluctance to murder people. Yeah. And she has sort of a darker turn when she knocks out the ghoul and does not really care where he goes, but to find a solution that allows her to thread that needle. Like that's a hero arc. That is her reaching that hero arc in a way that is earned. And part of earning that is annoying the hell out of us with that purity early in the season.
She's Superman saving the squirrel.
Yeah, right.
Like to echo what you said about the superhero arc.
Yeah,
which is like we recap Superman. It's annoying,
right?
But it's fundamental to the character.
Yeah,
and she it has proven that she is willing to do what it takes.
Yeah,
the ghoul quote, the Cooper quote from a few episodes ago. Or not, probably it wasn't him. It was his the guy in the military was receiving the award.
Mm-hmm.
Think about like how sometimes you got to get rid of a few bad people to save good people.
Yeah.
Season 1 Lucy doesn't do any of this. I don't think.
Yeah.
So she steals his device and enters the mainframe, or she enters the vault with the mainframe, and we get a little reveal at the end. Took me a second to figure out whose head it was. I was looking at it like, what?
Yeah, it took me a while too. I couldn't make it. Like the makeup work almost kind of ruined the moment because I'm like, I don't really know who this is. Like the music's dramatic and I feel like I'm supposed to know who this is.
Totally.
Yeah.
My husband was like, "Oh, that's the senator." I was like, "What?" The congresswoman. It took me, I was like, "Oh, I guess it is." So the congresswoman, the boring, nice congresswoman from Cooper's timeline is powering the technology. There's wires coming out.
Yeah.
I don't know how that works or what it means, but it is interesting given what we've seen from her and what we will see from her in the rest of this episode. What we do see from her in the rest of this episode as well.
Yeah. I'm still. Yeah, it took me the visual took me out of the drama of it, so it took me a second to figure out what's going. I guess she's maybe doing the brain stuff. I don't know. Like there was a lot going on. But
let's get to the flashback part actually too. Yeah. So because we see Cooper meeting with this woman, aka the drug dealer from Euphoria.
Yes.
It's completely changed the way I see the character.
We'd have known that earlier, we would have suspected more from the beginning. Just
she they talk about the chip, and he, like Max in the present tense, is like, I don't know what to do with this. I have this thing that Hank was hiding. They got it. Him and his wife got it out of him. She says, she gives him a solution, which is to give it to the president to end the resource wars.
Yeah.
She says. We see him and his wife, who are now in lockstep, it seems. The only way to save our family is to save the world. Is the quote. He gets in a car, and we see the president.
Yes.
The president is played by Clancy Brown. For those who don't know, I mean, he's been in a million things. He was in Billions. He was in The Penguin. He played the mob boss. Did you watch The Penguin?
I did watch The Penguin.
Okay, he was the mob boss in The Penguin. Yeah. He's in John Wick. David, this was an incident for me of casting just completely affecting my perception, because the second I saw that, I said,
he's a villain. No. He's a villain. that rang across the household here. We were like, no, don't give it to him.
Isn't it funny? Like, if they had cast, like, I don't know, Morgan Freeman, trying to think of people who play the president, right? Like, we'd be like, okay, so we're cool. Good.
Right.
Yeah, that guy pretty much has bad guy written all over him.
Because also, he had been in the show yet, but like when I saw him, I felt like he'd been in the show playing an evil person before.
Well, but it's because he looks like, I thought, he looks like Ron Perlman, who played the mutant.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so I was like, wait, is that Ron Perlman? I was like, no, that's not Ron Perlman, but they look alike.
Yeah.
The show is like hitting out of the park with the small casting, the little roles but yeah, he just doesn't look like a good guy at all.
Doesn't look like a good dude. Yeah. It was immediate. It felt evil from the, but also when Cooper was having the talk with her and they're like, we're going to give it to the president. And he was like, I trust you and I believe you. I didn't suspect her at all to be any part of any of these things. But I was kind of like, this feels kind of dumb on Cooper's part. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just feels like a little bit more naive and more like not as strategic as I had kind of thought. That felt like something that was kind of unnatural to him so far.
Totally agree. For me, it kind of was like, okay, I feel like there's a missing piece here, which is I don't know what the perception of the president is. Right.
Yeah,
like,
right.
In this timeline, do people think has corporate capture? Is he one of the good guys? Obviously, this is like the senator is supposed to be a good person, so maybe he's aligned with her, and that's why he felt safe. But I also came out of this questioning whether or not I don't know if she's a senator or congresswoman, but whatever. I also came out of wondering if she was actually bad as well. Yeah. It's unclear, but
my assumption coming out this episode was that she was evil in some sort of way, right? Like that to have that they have her head and then she's smiling and she like it feels like she's somebody, and Cooper being so heavy-handed, because you go back after this and watch Cooper being very heavy-handed in how good a person she is, how much he trusts her. It feels like we're supposed to see this as a betrayal of her betraying him and kind of pulling all the strings on all this.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I think we have been wondering, what role does the Howard family play in accelerating the end of the world? This would seem to be the missing piece, which is they gave this chip to someone who's obviously not going to be a good person. And we still don't know who's going to drop the bomb, and maybe we'll see if we ever find out. But in terms of like an activating event, this would...
Did you think his wife knew what he was doing? Like, she knew. Okay,
right. I think at this point they're
locked in on giving this thing to the president.
You know, we've also been wondering, like, why does he want to find his wife? And I think we had the turn here where she decides to help him, and because she helps him get the chip out of Hank's head. Okay, so in the present tense, the final plot line. There's the Norm plot line, which we can talk about in like 2 seconds. But the final main one is the Ghoul, the Max, and Thad are all together. Last scene with that mutant guy. Thad is now with. Or pardon me, the Ghoul is now with Max and Thad. Some great comic relief here of Thad, the Ghoul, trying to bond with the Ghoul. I like a lot of times in like comic relief and shows like this or just a character who's clearly there for comic relief can be a little grating, but I love his moments. I find them to be
Jar Jar Binks effect.
I think he's really funny.
Thad's not turned into a zombie, right?
He's just a ghoul.
I mean, but he's not. But are we sure that he's turning into a ghoul?
Like as opposed to like a feral. Yeah.
Because he shows the teeth.
Yeah.
And the ghoul's kind of like, it kind of looks like, and then his arm, like the ghoul's kind of giving them these looks like he's like, there's something else that he is turning into that's not a ghoul.
Interesting. Like, I just perceived it as him thinking he was a weird loser. But you could be right.
I just felt I'm just putting a pin in that it feels like he may not actually be turning into. I mean, because he loses an arm, right? And there's teeth. There are things that we don't see on the ghoul that like, and he's just like, when does my nose fall off and all this stuff like that's.
We've seen the ghoul lose stuff and regenerate, but it's it'll be interesting to see. He also because his arm falls off, he ends up not being in the final moment. But I have a pretty strong feeling like he's going to appear in the finale, like some kind of funny, clutch way. He is like a James Gunn character. So
yes, very much so. Yeah.
So, anyways, but the real action is Max and Ghoul very quickly, as you discussed, come to the agreement that they both want to get into the vault, to Vault Tech. Pardon me. To the vault to get his wife and daughter. That's where Lucy is. Shared mission. But the ghoul explains they need firepower to get through there because the death claws are on the strip. He takes them to like an old. Well, first he asks for the chip. And Max is like, well, I want to give it to Lucy. And this is similar to the quote from Cooper's friend. To get it to a good person, you got to give it to a bad person. He says he's only seen one man ever come out and top in Vegas, and that was because he rigged the game. Felt like he was talking about Robert House there.
That's what I felt too. Same thing, yeah.
So then they get into an old NCR stash, and they find another power suit for Max to wear.
Could be talking about the president, but I'm assuming Frost there, yeah.
Or Robert House, yeah.
Robert House. I'm calling him Robert Frost, which is a very nerdy thing to do.
Two roads diverged, and they decided to go into where the Deathclaws are. Like it's the strip or whatever. Well, first before they there's like a town called Freeside outside of it, and they give them like kind of like a hero moment walking up. And because Max is wearing the NCR suit, everyone's like, like what did you make of the goals? Like it's brand recognition, like what did you make of that moment when they all walk in together?
Yeah, it was a cool superhero moment. It was also one that I felt like this won't go well for Max. Like that was kind of my feeling. Yeah,
he is the like of the three main characters. He is the one you always worry about.
Yeah.
Lucy. I mean, Lucy's just like kind of as big of a bad as the ghoul. It just comes out, and Max is like. He's a sweetie. He's a sweetie pie. And when they walk in together, as we discussed, Thad's arm falls out right away. And Max starts fighting the Deathclaw, and he beats one easily. It's like, yay! But then another one shows up, and he starts losing. And in the process, the like barrier between the strip and the Freetown gets knocked over, which sets up, because there's like a wall that keeps in the Deathclaws, sets up some serious stakes for the finale. But the ghoul gets into the casino separately, and then he plugs in he decides to. I don't know how he knew how to to do this, but he plugs in the chip, and we see Robert House.
I'm assuming that this is something that he knows from the before time somehow, but I'm not sure.
It's so funny. Like I'm like always like, how do you guys even know what this technology does? I mean, I don't know. The show really doesn't, to its credit, it doesn't like overdo exposition, but there are also like moments where I'm like, wait, how, what, where are we?
It reminds me of Spider-Verse, where he's like, everybody has a gizmo or a doohickey. There's got to find a doohickey. And it just feels like a plot that's about a doohickey that we just will, it'll make sense later.
I want to talk about sort of each of these individual plot lines and what we expect is going to be answered in the finale. But the final one is Norm, who was last seen getting knocked out by Ronnie, one of the buds. And he wakes up and nothing really happens to this plot line. We see them talking about what they want to do with him, and then they knock him out again. The Asian woman still wants to help him.
Yeah.
It's unclear to me what Norm's trying to do here.
Yeah.
I guess, but I mean, we know why the buds, they don't want him to interfere, but he is sort of like on the verge of figuring out the forced evolutionary virus piece of this, the enclave piece of it. It's the experiments, all of it.
Right.
Okay. Let's go story by story and talk about so the first one was Stephanie and Betty in the vaults. This one's we just bet what the hell is Stephanie up to?
What's in the box? What's she up to? What does she want? She's very emotional grabbing the box, so it's about the box. My fear is that there's half of these things we won't find out till the end of next season. I think my guess is we'll probably see what's in the box and have no clue what that is, and it'll be explained later.
If we are to assume that her goal here is not to help Hank, but to destroy what remains of America, just throwing that out there based on the backstory we saw, could be some sort of weapon. But yeah, it's unclear at the moment. Okay. The Lucy and Hank one, this is, we want to see what the hell the senator's head, how it got there, the congresswoman's head, how it works.
Yeah.
I think we should also add with Lucy, obviously, a reunion, right? Because they're all in the same city now.
Yeah, right.
Reunion with the ghoul, finally a reunion with Max, who she has not seen this entire season. But I think with her too, there's this bigger question, David, which is what's actually next for her other than thwarting her dad?
Yeah. She's thwarted him. Maybe she wants to save the people in the vault. I guess maybe, I don't know. This is a measure, because I don't assume he's getting away, or I'm assuming that we may be closing the chapter on her and her dad soon.
In the past plot line with Cooper, we're going to find out. We're just leading up to what the president does with the chip and who dropped the bomb.
Right.
Is the mystery. And then finally with Max, it's, I think, whether or not he can save that town from the death clause, and whether he reunites with Lucy. And then with the ghoul, obviously it's reuniting with his wife and daughter, but also why does he want to talk to Robert House?
Yeah.
I don't really know.
Yeah. And I was very surprised that was what we got to from that thing. But
that to me seems like a big missing piece here, which is, what did Robert House do?
Yeah.
If he didn't actually drop the bomb.
Yeah.
If he isn't actually the biggest bad.
Stop the bomb from dropping with all of his.
He didn't stop the bomb. What did he do? Because he's the first bad guy introduced this season, but we don't actually know what he did.
Yeah.
And we don't know why the ghoul cares. It's a little bit murky.
How would you feel if one episode left, by the end of this episode, the season finale, we do not know who drops the bomb?
I think it's very likely that's what happens.
Yeah.
I think we're going to get some of the answers. I do think Stephanie's plan is going to continue in the next episode, the vaults and everything going on there. I think the main three characters will reunite in some fashion. And I think we will probably find out about the betrayal maybe in the past tense.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be surprised if we don't actually see anything more with the enclave or who drops the bomb. I think it'll be something that happens with Robert House.
Yeah.
We're going to drop a special episode next week too, by the way. I guess I'll reveal it now. I'm doing the Great American Baking Show.
Yeah.
Now on Sunday night. It's on Roku channel. Be available then. And David and I are going to do a little special episode of Your Discretion where I give you all the backstory on what it's like to compete on the baking show. And it's the Bake Off spinoff in London, but it's the same judges, the same tent and all of that. So.
Cannot wait. You're just achieving all the side quests. I mean, it's just side quests.
It is the most side questy thing I've ever done. It was really quite fun. All right. Thank you as always to Charlie Kravitz and Brian Madison, and we'll be back next week.